Food and Agro Allied Group, Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC, commissions its Sunti Golden Sugar Estate in Niger, Nigeria's north central. The about 50 billion naira worth of investment is expected to, among other benefits, create as many as 40,000 jobs. CNBC Africa now brings you some of the finest moments of the commissioning of history, not just for Flour Mills of Nigeria, but also for the Nigerian nation in its drive towards achieving self-sufficiency in sugar production. Welcome, I am Christycole. Business leaders, political leaders and stakeholders led by Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari are hosted by Food and Agro company Flour Mills of Nigeria as it unveils the latest addition to its chain of food and agro businesses.
The vision and the mission of Flour Mills of Nigeria of FMN PLC began in 1960 with the independence of the nation. We began then as a single-site flour mill founded by my father, Mr. George S. Kumantaros, and we've grown into the largest food and agro-allied business in the country with over 11,000 employees, one of the largest companies quoted on the stock exchange, and offering a farm-to-table offering of all types of consumer foods that you see on your kitchen table, from pasta to couscous, semolina, bread, veg oil, sugar, breakfast cereals, snacks. Most products that you find on your kitchen table, you can find a golden penny product, which we begin from sourcing the raw materials to producing in the highest level of factories throughout Nigeria, and then delivering to the consumer.
This is a very unique and important event in the life of Flour Mills of Nigeria and also the country Nigeria. It is very important because this is the first time a private investor will be starting a greenfield sugar estate. And we thought about this about 8 years ago when we acquired this land, a 17,000 hectare land in Sunti, to develop cultivation of sugar and production of raw sugar. It is part of our bigger picture of feeding Nigeria every day.
The quest for sugar production on the facility, which began 8 years ago, finally birthed the commissioning of the Sunti Golden Sugar Estate. For a leader who had earlier declared 2018 a year of agricultural revolution, Nigeria's President Buhari wasted no time in delving into the benefits that accrue from the nation's newest sugar plant to kick off local production in the sector after years of silence from investors.
Your Excellency, your presence here today is a clear indication of your love for the people of Niger State. It has long become obvious that if we are to achieve a hunger-free Nigeria, it must be through a vibrant agricultural sector that drives income growth, accelerates food security, and generates employment for our youthful population.
To my mind, is central to our administration's determination to have an inclusive economy. The socio-economic impact of such a massive investment in the rural area of Nigeria cannot be quantified. Lives will change for thousands in these localities, and the impact on the national economy will be significant. The location of the Sunti Sugar Estate on the banks of the river Niger is as notable as it is commendable.
I think what will be going through my mind is a tremendous sense of pride and satisfaction, starting from my father, the founder's vision, and to all the hard work of every individual that has contributed to this coming about, and the great partnership we've had not only with government, but with the local community, and really doing things in the right way over the long term.
I'll be very proud and be very happy that the #1 citizen of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, is the one commissioning this Sunti Golden Sugar Estate. And this is something that we will never forget and will be forever grateful to the President for.
Stakeholders believe the sugar facility is a test of the resilience and attractiveness of the Nigerian economy.
You will struggle to find another economy that has a greater absorptive capacity. Population in excess of 160 million, growing at about 2%, and members of ECOWAS sub-region, which provides greater access to market.
I feel very proud because having been familiar with the project, I know the potential of it, and I know the potential of the entire region, and I think that this should be a forerunner. This area should develop into an industrial hub for Nigeria.
Given the fact that sugar is an item that is being imported into Nigeria today and heavily, and to find a company like Flour Mills, who is also one of those importers, setting up a big plant like this right at the center of Sunti is something that is gratifying to all of us.
Beyond gratification for the organization, political interests, the investors, and ultimately the consumers, Flour Mills Nigeria says Niger State's massive arable land and its receptive population are the two major attractions that keep the company grounded.
Niger State in Nigeria is the biggest state by land in the whole country. So if you want access to agricultural land, it is natural that you will want to look at the state that has the biggest land size. And we started this, as you said, since 1978, developing a farm in Kaboji as a laboratory in knowing how to grow corn, how to build capacity in that space, what does it require to ensure that you have a good yield, what are the agronomic practices, what kind of seed do we need to use. This is how we started in our Kaboji farm in Niger State. But we have grown beyond that now because we found that people are very welcoming in Niger State. They tend to own the project, if you will, and that has helped us and given us the comfort to want to invest further in Niger State.
Our relationship with the community is a vital one. Without our community here to not only provide jobs and educated and skilled workers, which we are creating as we go, it's creating the school conditions for children to get a primary education, to get fed at the schools, and then go on through career path development. This is really a capacity building exercise. We are building the capacity, bringing electricity, bringing water, bringing schools, bringing roads, and bringing an ability to rise in one station in life.
It makes commercial sense, but more important than that is that companies that engage or incorporate local communities into their model increase their welcome, goodwill value, and in fact provide more security for their investment. So if you make the farmers around this area outgrowers, let them be part of the wealth creation that is come, everyone will feel happy. And because they are wealthy, they can do a lot of things for themselves, courtesy of the investment. And the company will have more community acceptance. And in fact, that is a greater discharge of corporate social responsibility than the occasional gift to a football club or to primary school. But even that is also an important, and I believe governments and companies should work together to ensure that the greatest benefit is derived, but more in terms of getting companies to incorporate local communities into their business model.
We'll be supporting the company to work with the local community, support the local community through our Anchor Borough program, so that when we fund these local communities in the production of sugarcane, this company will be able to offtake it from them. And through that medium, you find that we are creating jobs for the rural community. We are creating wealth in the rural community for them to produce sugarcane, which will be offtaken by this Sunti sugar. And with that, we're able to see that we're improving economic activity, improving wealth of our people, creating jobs for our people, and at the same time, working towards achieving economic growth in Nigeria.
The community is very happy because our strategy is always inclusive. We tend to ensure that the impact of the business is understandable to the community. For instance, we have regular communication with the community leaders, with the youth of the community, and table before them, these are the benefits. For instance, infrastructural benefits, job benefits, because we have to create jobs. And the local community are the majority that benefit from creation of jobs.
The Sunti Golden Sugar Estate has been described as a poster project, one that other private investors should emulate and replicate across Nigeria in order to create employment and value addition through import substitution.
So we would like to see that the company is able to ramp up its production of sugar from 10,000 to 20 to 40 and eventually hit the 50. But we know that a lot is required, and the central bank stands ready to give all the support that is needed to achieve those objectives.
We expect to see this project not only succeed, but succeed commercially. We would like to see the employment targets that they have set, that is met. More importantly, also, we want to encourage other entrepreneurs, to look at projects such as this, especially in the northeast, in the north, in the south, the areas where we need to generate a lot of employment.
Our own primary interest is supporting enterprises and businesses that would like to work with us towards achieving import substitution. That is goods or products that we can produce in the country and that are currently being imported into the country. What do we do to support some of those companies to ensure that rather than import those items into the country, that they can produce them locally?
You have been watching highlights from the commissioning of Flour Mills Nigeria PLC's Sunti Golden Sugar Estate here in Niger, North Central Nigeria. After the break, Nigeria's National Sugar Master Plan becomes our focus. Stay with us. Evolving from a single flour mill in Apapa, Lagos, Nigeria, now more than 5 decades later, to a publicly traded chain, Flour Mills Nigeria PLC commissions its Sunti Golden Sugar Estate to stamp its mark and its commitment to, from farms to the tables, provide food for Nigerians every day. Now, to what extent are policies surrounding Nigeria's National Sugar Master Plan helping to achieve self-sufficiency in sugar production? And really, in what ways are diversification policies helping? Nigeria's Sugar Master Plan is aiming for self-sufficiency in sugar production. It is aspiring to ensure that the country is able to produce all the sugar it needs to consume.
Since the Sugar Master Plan was launched a couple of years ago, there have been various attempts to meet this different strategy to ensure that investors and businesses are encouraged to invest in this area, and in order to ensure that the objective of the Sugar Master Plan is met. Yes, some progress has been made, and what we are here for is a major indication that Nigeria is making progress in the achievement of the objective of the Sugar Master Plan.
Today we import sugar. It shouldn't be so. And what this does is to establish that fact that we have the ability to not only produce sugar, but compete and export sugar to the world market.
The Sugar Master Plan is not without challenges. Policy, funding, environment, enforcement for implementation, and infrastructure have been tipped to need some extra attention. Thus, the Sugar Development Council was set up to ensure survival of local investors.
Well, I think the biggest issue in achieving the master plan is the issue of policy. The right policy environment by government to ensure that people have the confidence to make the necessary investments. So we are aware that the primary consideration is to ensure that when people make this kind of investment, they are protected. But there's no point making investment, then and you still allow people to bring in sugar, in a way that kills the local investment. The second issue, of course, is that of infrastructure. It's huge. What is required, for example, to set up this factory, the company also had to build the road infrastructure that led to this facility. So that if the infrastructure was provided by government, then it lessens the exposure of the company, in terms of what is required for this kind of business to take off. Of course, the issue of funding. So I think if you take the issue of funds, the issue of policy protection, and the issue of infrastructure, then you'll be talking of the key challenges or barriers that have to be overcome.
The government has done literally all it could, but this policy is work in progress. You have to calibrate your policy because the world is ever changing. Other competitors are changing their policies, are responding to you. So to recognize that you have to bring government, industry, stakeholders together so that continuously you recognize weaknesses in your policy or where you can do better, and challenges that you work with together as a nation.
Without the support of government, we would not have had the comfort of investing our money into this project. For instance, government is responsible for policies. If policies are very clear, policies are consistent, sustainable, enforceable, and very inclusive, it gives comfort to the investor, to move into that space. And we find that in the Sugar Master Plan. Sugar Master Plan has all these elements, and that is very important. That is why we went into investing in backward integration for sugar production. Today, we have others, in that space, and we work together to ensure that we develop local content and grow sugar in Nigeria so that Nigeria can have comfort of having sugar made in Nigeria on their tables. But not only that, it will have resulted in import substitution and save a lot of foreign exchange for Nigeria.
The approach of the Sugar Master Plan, or the Sugar Development Council as it were, is to adopt the carrot and stick approach. The stick approach is to ensure that the tariff on sugar is high enough to discourage importation, right? Because when you pay high tariff on sugar, then the idea is to discourage importation of sugar.
So it's very important that we have a sugar refinery, that we import raw sugar. We need to have a local content, building capacity in local content by establishing this kind of estate.
In Nigeria, we have to break this cycle of importation, and we need to create the raw materials for our factories and for our consumers here in country. So the government's policies, the administration's policies and direction have been very much geared towards driving agriculture and replacing oil really with other forms of value creation.
The Sunti Sugar Estate that we are sitting on is a 17,000 hectare land, but we have 10,000 that is cultivable, for sugar cane. So we are going to develop 10,000 hectares in Sunti. As of today, we have reached the 3,000 hectare mark.
I think I must commend the federal government for its tenacity. When the president came on board, he came at a time when the global crisis was setting in, and I had discussions with him where he said, and I was very clear and said, look, our results are going to plummet, and we came up with an idea that what are those items that we're importing that we can produce in Nigeria? And sugar and a few other products came into mind. And that's why the president insisted, and we're working with him to ensure that we diversify our economy from being a predominantly import-dependent economy.
The inauguration today of the Sunti Golden Sugar Company means that, not only in terms of the sugar that is being produced, that will be produced here, but also in terms of how this investment will impact the local economy. The outgrowers, the local sugarcane outgrowers, now have a ready market for their produce.
We hope that in the next few years, we should be able to develop to 10,000 hectares and thereby becoming probably the best and the most modern sugar estate in the country. That is very critical to us, and that will have saved about $100 million per annum by the time it is fully developed, because we'll be producing 100,000 metric tons of sugar per annum.
And that's really has always been the vision of FMN PLC. We view ourselves as a company that is feeding the nation every day. And we will continue to do that, and we will continue to find ways to integrate the raw materials, the factories, and the consumer. With more than 50 billion naira invested in over 10,000 hectares of land,
3,000 outgrowers engaged locally and projections to produce about 100,000 tons of sugar annually, Flour Mills Nigeria PLC has once again proven itself relentless in fulfilling its mantra, which is to, from farm to the table, put food on the table of Nigerians daily. With the commissioning of its Sunti Golden Sugar Estate here in Niger, Nigeria's north central, highlights from which you have just watched here on CNBC Africa. Many thanks for watching. I am Christycole.